What makes post-meal walking so remarkable is that it targets the exact window when your body is most vulnerable, the glucose surge. After you eat carbohydrates, whether from rice, bread, fruit, or even healthy grains, those carbs break down into glucose. That glucose enters your bloodstream rapidly. In someone metabolically flexible, insulin escorts it into cells smoothly. But in many adults, especially those with insulin resistance, the response is delayed or blunted. Blood sugar stays elevated longer than it should. That prolonged elevation is where damage begins. Endothelial cells lining your blood vessels are sensitive to glucose spikes. Repeated exposure promotes inflammation, stiffness, and eventually cardiovascular disease. This is why post-meal glucose control is increasingly recognized as just as important as fasting glucose. And this is where walking becomes strategic medicine. When you contract skeletal muscle, even lightly, AMPK-activated protein kinase activity increases. This enzyme acts like a metabolic switch, enhancing glucose uptake and fatty acid oxidation. In simple terms, your muscles start absorbing fuel efficiently. Research comparing sitting versus light walking after meals consistently shows lower glucose peaks and faster return to baseline in the walking group. In some studies, even breaking up sitting every 20 to 30 minutes with brief movement significantly improved glycemic control. But here's what most people don't hear. You don't need intensity. In fact, going too hard right after eating can cause discomfort and divert blood away from digestion. A relaxed, conversational pace is ideal. 10 minutes, 15 if you can. Imagine the cumulative effect. 3 meals a day means 3 glucose-flattening opportunities. Over weeks and months, that translates to thousands of reduced spikes. Less insulin demand. Less fat-burning signaling, more stable energy. Because yes, insulin is not just a blood sugar hormone, it's also a storage hormone. When levels remain chronically elevated, fat burning becomes harder. By lowering post-meal insulin requirements through walking, you subtly shift your body toward better metabolic balance. And then there's digestion itself. Gentle movement stimulates gastric motility. It helps food move through the digestive tract more efficiently, reducing bloating and discomfort. Many cultures have long embraced this instinctively. An evening stroll after dinner is tradition in multiple parts of the world. It's fascinating how modern life reversed that instinct. We engineered chairs for every moment: office chairs, car seats, couches. We turned eating into a stationary event followed by prolonged stillness. Biology never adapted to that pattern. Your ancestors moved after meals, whether gathering, cleaning, walking back home. That low-intensity movement was built into survival. Today, we must reintroduce it intentionally. And when you do, something shifts emotionally as well. The walk becomes a pause, a decompression, a boundary between consumption and continuation. Instead of sliding into lethargy, you step into clarity. It feels small, but small habits compound into identity. If you're thinking this sounds almost too simple, that's exactly why it works. Complex plans fail because they rely on motivation. Walking after meals relies on structure. You finish eating, you stand up, you walk. No negotiation. For people with pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, this habit can significantly improve glycemic variability. Some continuous glucose monitor users report visibly smoother glucose curves when they walk for just 10 to 15 minutes after meals. The spikes flatten, the crashes soften. The numbers become calmer. Calmer numbers mean calmer physiology. But even if you don't wear a monitor, your body tells the story. Fewer afternoon crashes, less brain fog, reduced cravings 2 hours later. That's because sharp glucose spikes are often followed by reactive dips, which trigger hunger signals. Flatten the spike, and you stabilize appetite. This is where walking becomes a weight regulation ally without ever feeling like exercise. You're not trying to burn off your meal, you're directing it. And over time, improved insulin sensitivity means your cells respond better to smaller amounts of insulin. That's metabolic resilience. That's longevity territory. There's also emerging evidence that light post-meal activity may improve triglyceride clearance after higher fat meals. While glucose often gets the spotlight, lipid metabolism matters too. Movement activates enzymes like lipoprotein lipase in muscle tissue, helping process circulating fats more effectively. Everything becomes more efficient when you move. The key principles are simple. Start within 30 minutes of finishing your meal, keep the pace light to moderate, aim for at least 10 minutes, be consistent. You don't need perfect terrain. Walk inside your home, walk around the block. Walk in place while listening to a podcast. Consistency matters more than aesthetics. And here's the emotional truth behind the science. When you walk after eating, you send your body a signal of care. You tell it, I'm participating in this process. Health isn't built only in gyms or clinics. It's built in ordinary moments repeated daily. The quiet decision to stand instead of sit, to circulate instead of stagnate. One meal doesn't define your health, but what you do after that meal might. And somewhere between your front door and the end of the street, your blood sugar is stabilizing. Your muscles are absorbing fuel, your vessels are protected, and your future risk is quietly bending in your favor. It's simple. It's grounded in physiology, and it's powerful precisely because it asks so little. Just stand up and walk. You finish your meal. Maybe it was healthy, maybe it wasn't. Either way, within minutes, something dramatic is happening inside your body. Your blood sugar begins to rise. Your pancreas scrambles to release insulin. Your cells are either ready to accept that glucose or they resist it. And that tiny internal decision, accept or resist, shapes your energy, your weight, and your long-term health. Now imagine if instead of collapsing onto the couch or scrolling your phone, you simply stood up and walked. Not a workout, not a jog, just a slow, steady 10 to 15-minute walk. Doctors increasingly recommend this simple habit because it taps into a powerful biological mechanism most people completely overlook. Muscle contraction pulls glucose out of your bloodstream without requiring as much insulin. When your leg muscles move, they activate GLUT4 transporters, tiny molecular doorways that escort glucose directly into muscle cells. This process happens independently of insulin. That means walking after meals can immediately blunt the blood sugar spike. Studies show that even light walking after eating significantly reduces postprandial glucose levels compared to sitting. And those spikes matter more than most people realize. Repeated high spikes damage blood vessels, increase oxidative stress, and push your body toward insulin resistance over time. That's how pre-diabetes quietly turns into type 2 diabetes. That's how energy crashes become daily rituals. But when you walk, you interrupt that cascade. Instead of glucose lingering in the bloodstream like excess traffic with nowhere to go, your muscles open lanes and clear it out. Blood sugar rises more gently. Insulin demand drops. Your body breathes easier. And something else happens too. You avoid that heavy, sluggish, almost sedated feeling that follows large meals. That post-meal fatigue isn't random. It's partly due to rapid blood sugar fluctuations and the body diverting blood flow to digestion. Gentle movement improves circulation and helps stabilize that energy shift. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it's powerful. This isn't about burning calories, it's about metabolic control, and metabolic control determines how you age. Now think about this. Most people try to fix their health with extreme plans. They overhaul diets, they commit to punishing workouts. They last 2 weeks, then life interrupts. But walking after meals? It's frictionless. It doesn't demand motivation. It doesn't require equipment. It doesn't shock your nervous system. It works with your biology instead of fighting it. And the science behind it keeps getting stronger. When you walk shortly after eating, especially within 30 minutes, you catch glucose at its peak rise. That timing is critical. Waiting 2 hours misses the metabolic opportunity. Acting early reshapes the curve. This is not a hack, it's physiology, and your body responds immediately.